Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going deep on something today. Well, something pretty amazing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the power of our thoughts and beliefs, but over our own biology.
Whoa.
I know, right? So
Oh,
diving into this clip from Bruce Lipton, he's a cell biologist, and he talks about some really interesting things like the placebo effect,
right.
the nocebo effect,
Yeah.
and epigenetics.
It's going to be good. I can already tell.
I think so too. This deep dive might just change how you think about your own health and well-being.
Yeah.
How healthy you are and how good you feel.
It really does challenge kind of that traditional view
Yeah.
that our genes are destiny.
Yeah.
Like it's already set.
Predetermined.
Yeah. But Lipton's work is so fascinating because it suggests that we have way more control than we think.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's unpack this a little. Lipton claims that at least a third of all medical treatments, so a third of all the times you go to the doctor,
Wow.
work simply because of the placebo effect. Like when someone gets better just because they believe the treatment is working, even if it's just a sugar pill.
Right. Right.
But why does that even work? It seems so counterintuitive. How can that even be a thing?
It really highlights the incredible power of the mind-body connection.
Oh, yeah.
When you believe something will help you heal, your body actually starts to release chemicals. And then those chemicals trigger these physiological responses.
Okay.
And those actually promote healing in your body. It's like your thoughts are actually sending instructions to your cells.
Wow. That's wild. It's like our brains are playing tricks on our bodies.
Yeah.
In a good way, right?
Right, right.
But Lipton also talks about the flip side of the placebo effect,
Okay.
which he calls the nocebo effect. So is that kind of like the evil twin of the placebo effect?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So while the placebo effect, harnesses the power of positive expectation,
Hmm.
the nocebo effect demonstrates the potential harm of negative beliefs. So, think about someone who is totally convinced they're going to get sick after being exposed to, a virus.
Yeah.
Their fear and anxiety, all that, can actually weaken their immune system,
Oh, wow.
which would make them even more susceptible to actually getting sick.
So in a way, are we almost like giving ourselves permission to get sick just based on what we believe?
Possible, yeah.
That's both fascinating and a little terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Lipton even says this nocebo effect can be fatal in extreme cases. Like people can actually die from this.
That's right. If someone truly believes that they're going to die, their body can essentially give up.
Wow.
It's a powerful example of how all of our thoughts, even the subconscious ones, can really influence our physical reality.
And here's the kicker, right? Research suggests that something like 70%, like the vast majority
Oh, gosh.
of our thoughts are actually negative.
Really?
So if our thoughts can shape our biology and most of those thoughts are negative, what kind of impact is that having on us every single day?
That's a great question.
I know, right? It's like, are we constantly bombarding our bodies with negativity without even knowing it?
It's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah.
Really is a sobering thought. And this brings us to this concept of epigenetics, which Lipton kind of explains as control above the genes.
Another genes. Okay.
So instead of our genes being set in stone,
Right.
he's saying that they can be influenced by our environment and perceptions.
So it's not just about the genes themselves, but how they're expressed. Like we might have certain genes, but whether or not they're turned on, I guess you could say, depends on our lifestyle, our thoughts, our environment.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Imagine identical twins,
Okay.
separated at birth,
Okay.
and they're raised in totally different environments.
Okay. Yeah.
So one grows up, in a very loving and supportive home,
Right.
while the other experiences maybe like trauma or neglect.
Yeah.
So even though they have the same genes,
Right.
their lives and their health outcomes could be totally different
Wow.
just because of how those genes are expressed.
It's like Lipton says, the genes are the blueprint,
Right.
but it's our experiences and perceptions that are kind of like the contractors who decide how that blueprint is used.
I like that, yeah.
But how does this apply to something like disease? Are you saying that even conditions like cancer, which we tend to think of as being genetic, can be influenced by our thoughts and environment?
It's definitely more complex than just saying, think positive and you'll never get sick.
Right.
But There is growing evidence to suggest
Yeah.
that our mindset and lifestyle play a much bigger role in our health than we previously thought,
So it's not about blaming people for getting sick,
right?
but more about empowering them to understand that they might have more agency than they realized.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective from feeling like a victim of your genes,
Yeah.
to recognizing your own power to actually influence your health is so incredibly important.
This is already blowing my mind.
I know.
We've got the power of belief,
Mm.
the potential danger of, negative thoughts, and this whole idea that our environment and perceptions can actually change how our genes work. So how does this all play out in real life? Like, are there any real-world examples of how this mind-body connection works? Let's get into that right after this.
Okay, so we've established our minds have this crazy power, this power to influence our bodies. But how does that actually work in the real world? Like, are there actual real-world examples of this mind-body connection thing happening out there?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. One of the most dramatic examples Lipton talks about is this thing called spontaneous remission.
Okay.
So these are those cases where people with really serious illnesses, even ones that are considered like terminal,
Yeah.
they just suddenly recover, like completely better.
Mhm.
And Lipton kind of attributes these, seemingly miraculous turnarounds to basically a fundamental shift in mindset. He actually says people have spontaneous remissions by changing their mind.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
But wait, are we really saying that just thinking positive thoughts can cure cancer?
Well, it's not quite that simple, obviously.
right.
It's not about, like, denying that you have a physical illness.
Right.
Or, just putting on a happy face and hoping for the best.
Right.
It's more about recognizing kind of that deep connection between your mind and body.
Yeah.
And understanding that our mental states, our emotional states, all that stuff can really have an impact on our physical health.
So it's more about like cultivating a certain mindset, a mindset that actually supports healing.
Right, exactly.
But what does that even look like in real life?
Yeah, well, think about it this way. When you get stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
your body starts releasing all these hormones,
Hmm.
like cortisol, adrenaline, all those.
Yeah, yeah.
And these hormones are actually designed to help you to cope with danger, like in the moment danger. But if you're stressed out all the time, like constantly,
Yeah.
those hormones can start doing damage.
Oh, wow.
Like they can mess with your immune system,
Right.
your digestion, even your heart.
So chronic stress is like hitting that fight or flight button, but like all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And our bodies just can't keep up, can they?
Exactly. But on the other hand, doing things like mindfulness,
Right.
meditation,
Yeah.
or even just being out in nature,
Yeah.
these things have all been shown to do the opposite.
So you're saying they lower those stress hormones.
Right. They reduce inflammation and promote, calmness.
So those things aren't just like, woo-woo feel-good activities. Like
Right.
there's actually a real physical response happening in our bodies.
Absolutely. Like there's a whole bunch of scientific research that actually supports this mind-body connection.
Okay.
For example, studies have shown that people who practice mindfulness pretty regularly,
Mm-hmm.
they have more activity in certain parts of their brains, the parts associated with emotional regulation and self-awareness.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And that can actually lead to some real health benefits,
Like what?
like lower blood pressure, better sleep,
Mm.
and even a stronger immune system.
So we're literally rewiring our brains for better health.
It seems that way, yeah.
But how do we connect all this back to Lipton's idea of epigenetics?
Okay, so remember, epigenetics is all about how our environment and our perceptions can actually change how our genes are expressed.
Right, yeah.
So if you're stressed all the time, like chronically stressed,
Yeah.
that can trigger these negative epigenetic changes, which can make you more likely to get sick.
Oh, okay.
But if we cultivate like a more positive and resilient mindset
Yeah.
and do things that are good for us, we can create positive changes that actually help us live longer, healthier lives.
So it's not just about avoiding negative thoughts, but actually trying to create positive ones.
Exactly. And creating an environment that is good for us.
So we're kind of taking ownership of our health
Exactly.
and realizing that we have more power than we think.
Yeah. That's what's so amazing about Lipton's work.
Yeah.
He's shifting the focus away from feeling like a victim of our genes
Yeah.
to being like an active participant in shaping our own health.
It's like we've always had the keys to the car, but we never knew we could actually drive it.
I love that analogy.
It's exciting, but also a little daunting, to be honest.
Yeah, I get it.
But if we really can change our health just by changing our minds, where do we even begin? Like, it's one thing to say, think positive,
Hmm.
but how do we actually do that? It's like so much of what we've talked about feels kind of intangible.
Yeah.
Like, how do we actually, shift our mindset? How do we go from knowing this stuff to like actually making changes?
That's the really interesting part, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about bridging that gap between, what we think and what we do, what we believe, and what we actually experience.
Mm.
It's not just about willpower. It's about understanding how our thoughts and beliefs can actually create like real changes in our bodies.
So you're saying it's not enough to just, slap on a fake smile and just start chanting positive affirmations?
No, no, not at all. It's more about cultivating this kind of like deep awareness
Hmm.
of your thoughts, your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
What stories are you telling yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What are you believing, that might be holding you back
Yeah.
from really being healthy
Hmm.
and happy?
So it's like taking a step back and kind of like observing your own thoughts,
Exactly.
almost like doing a mental inventory.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then, once you've kind of looked at those thoughts,
Yeah.
you can choose to challenge the ones that aren't helping you.
Yeah. Okay.
Like ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this just, an old habit,
Right. Yeah.
a pattern I've been carrying around for years that isn't true anymore?
Yeah. It reminds me of that saying, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Like if we're not paying attention, our thoughts can just take over.
Such a good analogy. It really is. And the good news is that we can choose to think different thoughts.
Yeah.
We can train our minds just like we train our bodies.
Yes.
This is going to take practice
Yeah.
and consistency and being willing to keep going even when it's tough.
So what are some practical things we can do? Like, are there any mental exercises we can try?
Oh, yeah. There are tons of great tools out there.
Okay, great.
Things like mindfulness meditation that can help you become more aware of what you're thinking and feeling without judging yourself.
Okay, yeah.
Gratitude journaling that can help you focus more on all the good things.
Right.
And even, simpler things like going out in nature or connecting with people you love,
Hmm.
doing stuff you enjoy. All of those things can really help you, your mind, and your body.
It's almost like, we're creating a positive feedback loop, right? The
Yeah.
more we focus on the good,
Hmm.
the better we feel. And then we're able to create even more good stuff in our lives.
Exactly. You're harnessing the power of your mind to create like this ripple effect of positive change.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like we just scratched the surface of this whole mind-body connection thing. There's
Yeah.
so much more to learn.
It really is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
And it all comes back to uh, that thing that Lipton keeps saying, that we have way more control over our health and our lives than we realize.
It's so empowering to think that we're not just, victims of our genes or whatever happens to us in life, that we can actually play a role in shaping our own health and well-being.
Absolutely. And, I'd like to leave you with one final thought from Lipton, something to kind of think about. If you could change your health just by changing your mind, what would you choose to believe? What story would you tell yourself about your body and your abilities, what you can achieve in the future?
That's a really powerful question, one that I think we should all, spend some time thinking about. Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive. And to everyone listening, remember, you have the power to create your own reality. Choose your thoughts wisely, cultivate a positive mindset, and you might be surprised at what you can accomplish. Until next time, keep diving deep.